Hey folks, welcome to the Kubernetes SIG Docs meeting. I'm your host today. My name is Ray Alejano. I'm one of the co-chairs for Kubernetes SIG Docs. Today is April 16th, 2024. A few things before we start. This meeting abides by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to be kind to each other. And I've also turned captions on as well, just to help anyone out who might find those helpful. And this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Can't find the, here we go. It's in the under the more sites here. I think I chose the right one. All right, so you should be seeing my screen here. This is the meeting agenda. I put the link on the chat. So we like to start off with to welcome any new contributors. So if there's any new folks that would like to come off mute and just to say hello, please do so.
Well, hello. I'm trying to help being useful here. Hope I don't step up on anything. But yeah, I have an agenda item also.
Hi. And that's Ricardo, I assume?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ricardo Mauro.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else that would like to say hello?
Yes, hi, my name is Marvin. I'm not sure I can call myself a contributor yet, since I haven't contributed anything, but I'm excited to be here and hopefully find some topics to contribute in the future.
Welcome, Marvin. All right, so anyone else would like to say hello?
I would just like to say hello. I am Marco. I am a long-time contributor to Kubernetes, but it's my first time here at SIG meeting. I am today on behalf of SIG here to discuss some of the items we are working on. So just wanted to say hello.
Great. Thanks, Marco. Welcome. Anyone else would like to come off mute and introduce himself? All right, let's go on to updates, reminders. So in Kubernetes SIG Docs, we have a PR Wrangler for the Kubernetes/website repo. Excuse me. The PR Wrangler is reviews the PRs for the week. So, it helps wrangle PRs, help get just to kind of help review PRs for the week. And we go in rotation. So we have a set of approvers for Kubernetes/websites repo, and we take turns being the PR Wrangler for the week. There's a shadow program as well. So Charles Inezi, who I believe is on the call here, is shadowing with Celeste. So the shadow helps learn how we review PRs in Kubernetes SIG Docs. So if you're interested in becoming a shadow, just feel free to reach out to myself or to one of the other co-chairs as well. And I believe there is a link to the PR Wrangler wiki here, and just so feel free to check that out. Next week's PR Wrangler is myself, and Xander is shadowing. Xander's on the call here. And the following week is Chiming. And also we have an issue wrangler as well. So an issue wrangler is a contributor who helps wrangle issues, who helps triage issues to see if they're accepted or not accepted, and just help to assign the appropriate SIG as well for those issues in the K website repository. And the next week's issue wrangler is Niranjan Darshan, and there's a link to the issue wrangler schedule as well. All right, lastly, if you notice any code of conduct violations at events, meetings, Slack, GitHub comments, please feel free to reach out to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee. You can do so with the link here, and there's multiple ways on how to reach out or to review email at conduct@kubernetes.io. All right, first topic in the agenda is the release 1.30 that is scheduled for release to be tomorrow. So if anyone else, if there's anyone from the 1.30 release docs team here that would like to give an update, please come off mute and do so. All right, so I will read out the updates. Looks like the status is yellow. There's 2 feature blogs still in review. and the one feature blog needs a new LGTM, and the release blog, which will be published tomorrow. There was a broken link, and that has an LGTM, but that needs to be approved. So I'll take a look at that after this meeting. And the feature blogs.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you had called on comms. So I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks for catching that broken link. And then we just got a note from that feature blog author that the LGTM had fallen off. So yeah, I just put the link there because she had just reached out in release comms.
Yeah, it was actually my fault because I read the comms update as a docs update. So yeah, so I apologize for that. Yeah.
Sorry.
So touch base with the docs team, async to get an update from the docs lead. I did reach out to the docs team on their Slack channel that I am available to for help out with any K websites or Netlify tasks for tomorrow. So my schedule is open for that. I'm also available for any ad hoc Zooms as well for help out with any release related task for the K websites repository or Netlify. Right. So those two feature blogs, since feature blogs are published post release, we definitely need a review for those, but definitely the priority is to get the release blog approved as well. So looks like since there's the broken link was fixed, so that I'll take a look at that afterwards. Any questions or comments for the 130 docs or comms team, or I guess just the comms team?
I have just one question, a general question about the release blog. So that it has the approval in the LGTM. Does that get manually merged by you all or by me? Or how does that work tomorrow?
So that'll be manually merged by Drew from the who's the 130 docs team lead.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. So the 130 release blog is usually the first PR that's merged in the what's considered the 130 site. Or
I want to talk about how, the way I think that we should do those merges, right?
Yeah.
And so that is like, Prowl will not merge the release announcement automatically because we'll have the freeze in place. But what we should do is line things up so that we still get the LGTM, we still get the approval, we still remove the hold. We do everything, so that you're not merging a held PR. You're doing all the things. It kind of like, it might feel like, well, why, if Drew has got like the power to override everything, we should override as little as we need to. If you're using like powers to override things, you should be overriding only what you need to override and not like, hey, I'm going to ship this, because it's, the YOLO thing is bad.
Yeah, it's definitely been done in past where it has an LGTM and approve, and the docs lead unholds it before. The reason why they manually merge it because there's a freeze on K websites. So they do go through the steps of unholding it and making sure there's an LGTM and approval, the right labels on it as well. It just to bypass the freeze.
You're already doing it right. I just wanted it to be on the video or on the record that we continue to do it right.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. All right. Any comments or questions for the 130 docs or comms team? All right. Moving on to issues and PRs. The first one is Marco, who's on the call. So I'll let Marco introduce this PR.
Oh yeah, I can quickly go about the PR. So the idea is that on the Kubernetes website, on the patch releases page, we have a schedule that shows two things mainly. The first thing is the planned dates for like the upcoming patch releases, for example, for the upcoming 3 or 4 months. And then it shows the list of patch releases for all like actively maintained branches, like for example, right now from 129 to 130, sorry, not to 130 to 127. And then there is like a list of end-of-life releases and their last patch releases. If you go to the patch releases link on the left side, so I can send a link just for a moment. It is this page. So, and the key problem that we have with it, it is very useful, and I think that it is very useful to the community as well, because we have been receiving like feedback about it. But the problem is that it is fully manually updated. So like someone needs after release to go on and create a PR and update everything and update some YAML manifest and then some markdown files, and all that takes effort, which is not that big, but it takes some effort. And the bigger problem that we have is that we tend to forget about this. Even if we have it in the release checklist and like you have to update it, it tends to get forgotten. And for example, we had a situation where we didn't update this calendar for like 2 or 3 weeks after the release, and that creates a lot of confusion for end users because they expect the release, they see the release planned, but did the release went out? Why the page is not updated? So we have been planning for a long time to automate this somehow, and thanks to Sasha from Sigalis, he created a PR recently to automate that using GitHub Actions. So there is basically an action that's going to run daily and to check what's the latest release using, we have some little tool called Schedule Builder that's basically going to be invoked in GitHub Actions to check what is the latest release for each of those supported branches, and then to update the YAML manifest that contains all that information. And finally, based on that YAML manifest, we are going to automatically generate the markdown preview to see all the releases and stuff like that. So far, we have went through the initial review and it is mostly okay, but team expressed that it will be nice to showcase this meeting to discuss it a little bit further. Sasha unfortunately didn't manage to make for this meeting, but I'm here today to go through this PR and to discuss if there's anything about it.
Personally, I think it's great to automate as well. I've seen, I've seen the PRs that come through to update the schedules. I've also know that there are many, not just end users, but there are many downstream projects or even our vendors that rely on the release schedule being updated as well. So I know the importance of having the schedule updated to be more accurate. So I definitely am a big plus one to automate this schedule. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, there's from Tim. Go ahead.
So if you scroll down to the first couple of comments there from me. Well, Prowl gets in there first, but so the Kubernetes project had for a while a strong reluctance to use GitHub Actions. Like GitHub Actions used to be new. Kubernetes is older than GitHub Actions, and Prowl is older than GitHub Actions. We are now, as a project, less wary of GitHub Actions, but this is actually quite an important repo. And going from the GitHub action we have now triggers a build in Netlify, which is quite an innocuous thing. Like you could do that a lot more often and we wouldn't really mind. We'd just have the website more current. And maybe if someone did it once a second, we'd start telling them not to. But something that can open a PR, especially something that can do more than open a PR, if there were abuse, consequences could be to encourage people to download Trojan horse software, mislead people in various ways. There are suppress the CV announcement. There are security consequences of the website, and we keep adding things to the website that are relevant to running clusters securely. Scroll down a bit more, right, and you'll get my other concern. There we are. At the moment, if you're an English approver, you get to approve for anywhere in the website. English is kind of, English approval is kind of entire website. And I have a PR to split this, but we decided to hold that PR until this release happens, like this release that's going out this week. So I think that sequencing is worth keeping. I recommend not making this release update change until my PR 38431 has landed. And if 38431 isn't going to land, rethink this.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So speaking of GitHub Actions, I don't think there's like a concrete reason for GitHub Action or against GitHub Action. I'm proud it was done with the GitHub Actions because it is the easiest way. Because if you open, for example, how the action looks like, it's pretty simple and allows you to easily create the PR. So our planned workflow is going to be is that there's automation that's going to create the PR, and then someone is going to do a review and adjust as needed. So that I'm not exactly sure actually how that adjustment is going to work, because when I'm thinking right now, if you want to adjust anything in that PR, you will need push access to website, to the repo. And that's like not really easy. So you will have to pull that branch, do changes, and then create your own PR. But in general, like it's going to provide some getting started point. And in most of cases, what the tool builds will be okay. So you will be able to just approve and HTML it. Speaking of using Prow, it would be possible. So we could use Prow. It will be a little bit more complicated for the permission side because we will need a token that can create a PR and that can actually do the stuff. We, for example, have some of that already in such automations. I think they're Prow-based, so we could look into that if Prow would be better to use. I see Tim has hand up, so before...
Go ahead, Tim.
So like we have historically not used GitHub Actions. I want to call out that this is really our first serious use of GitHub Actions, and it changes our threat model, if you like. So when this merges, we will need an updated threat model for the website. That's not the same as we mustn't do it. It's a highlight that, hey, GitHub Actions, we now have a GitHub Action that can do a thing. And imagine, someone doesn't check the PR because, oh yeah, every week or every month we get a one of these and I just approve it. Look, I'm very light approving it. And actually the PR includes a change we don't want. We need to think about how we're managing those risks, which I think we will, because we are going to think about it, because we're talking about it now. So don't hear this as we can't use GitHub. Hear it as we need to make sure we have thought about using GitHub Actions.
Okay, yeah, I will note that down and I will follow back with SIG folks and see, if we can, how we can handle that exactly. Because if we can handle it easily with Prow, and Prow is what we use mainly for website, then it makes sense to rework this, that it uses Prow, because it's going to make your life easier because you wouldn't have to do something new in your tooling. And for us, I don't think it really matters, because if it is going to be one or another tool, it's important to get the job done. It's just that initially it might take some more effort, but I think it's probably worth it. So we will discuss it and we will see, and we can then follow up on that together. Speaking of how's the approve structure going to look like, we can follow up then after the release and see exactly how do you plan on that being worked on. Like, this is not super high priority that it gets merged right now. We can leave it on, see if your PR gets merged, and then see how exactly it is going to look like. I have actually some concerns. I left them as a comments, especially around localization of this, because the YAML file is only English, and if we are going to automatically generate everything, then it's a little bit of a question how is this going to work from non-English version of the site. So are they going to keep the old way of doing stuff, or how exactly is it going to work for them? This is mainly about the, we used to name patch releases, for example, like April patch releases, May patch releases. Sasha proposed dropping that in some other PR, I think. And we will probably just leave the names out and just leave dates. But there is stuff like notes, because notes are like, okay, there is CV in that PR, in that patch release or something like that. That's hard to translate and put in the localization. So other release branches, we would either need to have YAML localized, or we would just need to keep the forks, do localization manually, and keep the page manually updated. This is something that we would hit to. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
There's snippets of English around the site. So there are localized pages where, if you look at the releases page already, you'll find like when the Chinese localization, I think, picks something up, they keep some text in English. It's fine to do that. There are, it's localization, which is not the same as just translating everything that you see, and leaving some stuff in English is okay. We could possibly build a mechanism to provide like a translation tooltip or something, but like if we didn't, I'd be fine with that.
Okay. Then we also not consider a blocker. So yeah, I mean, I will follow up with folks about that, and then we can exactly see how are we going to proceed and keep everyone here in loop about how are we going to proceed. If there's any feedback, please take a look. This is a great time to look at this PR and provide feedback, and then we will figure it out. Yeah,
But
Tim, go ahead.
One more point, which is, I think that one of the benefits of automation is that even if the PR doesn't merge, like the fact that there's been some sort of update PR hanging around for 3 weeks and didn't get reviewed is like, that's still a signal. There's a signal around. Hang on, we've forgotten to do a thing, and that's valuable. So, even if someone has to manually intervene and whatever, automating the update PRs, it like provides that value of nudging people to go, oh, okay, I need to go make that manual because I remember the thing, but it's the nudge.
Yeah, definitely that.
all right. Thank you for that discussion, Marco and Tim.
And
right.
thank you for all the feedback.
All right, we look forward to hearing back from SIG Release on how to automate the schedule. All right, next, if there's not any other comment or question, Ricardo has the next issue that Ricardo wants to bring up. Ricardo, I remember seeing you on the meetings. If you want to come off mute and introduce this issue.
Yeah, so basically what we're talking about here is the website currently only has Brazilian Portuguese translation. So I created an issue to actually add the Portuguese from Portugal, the European one, translation. That is because, while we have Brazilian, Portuguese European, it has its own expressions and technical terms and cultural nuances, and it's significantly different from the one that exists. Yeah, so there is an explanation here, actually, on the issue here.
Yeah, I took a look at this and also already have this page up on how to start. I believe for this, we would need a localization for Portuguese from Portugal started. And we have the steps laid out and starting a new localization.
I did start the PR.
Oh, you did start. Okay. Okay, you already started the PR. Okay.
There is a huge problem with that. So like I just started, right?
Okay.
And apparently I need to, put the whole world coming in to help me. At least 3 people, right? So, it's a little bit of an effort, right? And also I went through, I have like, probably 30% of all of what is said on that list done on the PR. But it's huge, right? So the entry point, is quite big, right? And specifically, since I'm coming from the Drupal community where, I'm a team leader there of the whole localization that we have for PT. It's much bigger than this, but that community has different rules, and having 3 mandatory team members just to start is quite the effort. It's more effort to do that initially than it is to create the PR. So
Right.
that's why I'm saying this. I'm looking for that. Like I already got one, Olger Schneider. You already said that he's able to help. I'm sourcing around from other community members
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
actually can make part of the team, but most of them they don't have. I'm still learning this, but I don't think they have enough permissions to review or merge or approve or whatever needs to be done in the org.
All right. I've so a few hands up. Tim, then Abby.
I'm actually happy to let Abby go first because
Okay.
I think I'd like to hear Abby's voice, but I'd like to come in afterwards.
All right, Abby.
Hi, hello, thank you, Tim. So I'm Abby. I'm one of the localization sub-project leads. So I saw your messages yesterday, and I know we chatted a bit. So thank you and welcome for your interest. It is we hope not an overcoming barrier of entry to get started. That's not the point of the things that we have set up. I will say, just based on the effort to keep the localization going, long term, we ask that there's at least 2 people to go through the review and approval process within the repo. That's just what we have, so that people are not able to review and approve their own PRs. So I just wanted to say hello and welcome. And I saw your stuff. We do have an upcoming localization meeting on May 6th, which is more specifically to just the localization effort, but that's in a couple of weeks. So I'm really happy to see that you're here and asking questions. And if there is any other questions, we have a localization channel. Obviously, I know you're in there. I just personally do not know a lot about the differences between both languages, or how they're spoken in different areas. But I do think, like you said, we need to have kind of a separate team-based system, which maybe get to a separate Slack channel and a separate space just for you to get a team of folks who know more specifically what you're localizing in, compared to the Brazilian teams who can kind of set up your own processes and focal point on just your localization effort.
Okay.
That's just what I wanted to jump in and say. But yeah, Tim.
So this is a new thing for Kubernetes. We have not had, I guess I might be the exception because I'm from England and we speak a different kind of English here to the most of the world. But yeah, we don't have a British English localization. We don't have 2 Chinese localizations, 2 Portuguese localizations, 2 French localizations. This would be the first time we have a language with 2 different localizations to the same language. So we haven't got processes for this. We should consider, like, how much formal separation do we need between the 2 Portuguese teams? Do we want to keep them totally apart and say, you are, like you are as different as, French and Italian? Or do we want to say, actually, like you all speak Portuguese, like let's have some overlap and maybe different channels, but share some rights and allow, for example, we might say, actually, you don't have to have two approvers for Portuguese because the approval team for Brazilian Portuguese could step in and rescue the localization if needed. That kind of thinking. So that's I guess something for the next localization thing. And Ricardo, I do hope that you didn't start from English. Please do consider starting from Brazilian Portuguese, unless it's so different that's a worse idea. Yeah,
I went to the source and I started from there. But I do see there is a readme.md and there is a readme UKMD. So what is the difference between those 2?
That's in Ukrainian, not United Kingdom.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Not UK, right?
Nope. Ukrainska mova, different thing.
Got it. Cool.
I think that's Rolf has a hand up. Is that Rolf?
Yeah, this is a little bit of future casting, but eventually, if we do implement machine translation, assisted translation, it would definitely make a lot more sense to to have the two languages cooperate closely. It might be even possible to just designate variants and generate output from the same database. I'm not sure about that, but I see a convergence rather than a divergence.
Thanks, Rolf. I know on the English side, since we accept, personally, I've seen both American English spelling and both British English spelling have been accepted. So it's,
Yeah,
I know we don't
much
favor one or the other.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh
It
yeah.
is
No,
much,
I'm
much
just stating that, you know, from what Tim mentioned, now there's, you know, there's British English, but it's very similar to, but
yeah. So like we have, so let's grab a normal word like users, right? Brazilians say usuário, which is kind of touching the English, and we say a completely different word, which is utilizador.
okay.
So it's not even close.
Yeah.
And some Portuguese would just go there and see, what is that, right? This is not my language.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Okay.
I want to generate more, to improve our community from Portugal to coming and contributing, right? And this is like one of the things that I immediately saw, from my all experience of years and years in other open source projects. I immediately saw, okay, this is the kind of thing that you want to have kind of, in place so that they feel welcome, they feel like we have a place here, we can contribute from zero, right?
So I see Rolf, yeah, your hand is up. Yeah. All right. What is how do we start the conversation with possibly having Portuguese Brazilian improvers, or having that, or how do we start this conversation, and what's the next step in with the Portuguese and Portuguese Brazilian, see if any approvers can help from the Portuguese Brazilian community, or if we Ricardo mentioned having one other possible approver or contributor to the Portuguese localization, or how do we help gain more approvers, or at least a few more approvers to get the localization started?
Yeah, I'm looking for ideas. So one of these contributors or team members, like Holger, I know he speaks Portuguese, could be one, right? And then there is normally, if they are very versed, there is always from the PTVR community, probably someone that could, volunteer and say, yeah, we can also try and help that.
Yeah, we could reach out to the PTBR community. They have their own Slack channel currently to see if anyone is also can also review Portuguese as well. So then that could and then we could also bring this up in the next localization meeting. If there's ways, if there's any other Slack channels or other communities that we could tap into from Portugal. The CNCF might have a Slack channel for Portuguese users. I don't know, but we could always take a look.
I'm not sure if they have a specific I'm not sure how they set up the CNCF, but I know they have a very active glossary localization team, and we have had a lot of people jump into Kubernetes localization from that team. So that might be an area that we can kind of check with. But I would be very curious to see if there are any people in the Brazilian Portuguese team or within that Slack channel that would be able to or willing to help contribute with the Portuguese European Portuguese. And then Ricardo, I'd also be interested in as we continue on in these efforts, I'd be interested to see if you think we need a full-on separate Slack channel, and kind of separating it out from the Brazilian channel that's already been established. That has a lot of users in it, just to kind of maybe get some feedback from other people already doing localization work in a very similarly related language. But I definitely would like your feedback to know if you think we need a separate channel, because that might attract more people who might be saying, oh, they only have Brazilian, so I can't contribute, or I don't want to contribute because I don't necessarily speak Brazilian Portuguese. But if we had a separate channel, you might be able to draw more people there. Again, I'm not very familiar with the differences in the language, so you would be somebody who I would rely on for ideas on how best to split it out and what would be appropriate there.
Yeah, so I talked briefly to Maureen Berti. She's the localization lead. I'm not sure what is the term there, but she's actually very active on that channel, and she also proposed that, right? So I'm feeling, like most probably we could segregate that so it doesn't, we don't pollute their channel with our stuff. But yeah, but for now it's fine. Like we're very silent. It's just me and another person. So I do see there is actually, that was a great idea. I do see there's a Portugal channel in the cloud native Slack.
Mhm.
So I'll probably put a message there saying if anyone is interested in participating. There are
Great.
58 people there. So that was a good. Thanks.
Nice. All right. Any other comments or questions on this topic? I'm going to circle back to the release 1.30 from the docs team. Drew it has joined us.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
For some reason, it does not seem like my video is working, but so yeah, sorry I'm late, everybody. I had a little bit of a emergency earlier. I just wanted to give an update that the website or I should say the repo has been frozen for the website. So we're currently working through the tasks before the release day right now, creating a release branch for 129, and then we'll be updating the Netlify configuration next. Ray, did you mention I could work with you on updating that?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I posted on the release docs side channel. I'm available most of tomorrow as well.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Any comments or questions for Drew? All right. I'm moving on to a issue about test translation tooling. Abby.
Yes, hello everyone. So this has been a topic we've kind of talked about on and off in the past few meetings, but we have an issue created for formalizing testing around translation tooling for localization teams. So right now we're looking for some volunteers who would be willing to help participate and do the testing. Specifically, we need some folks, who can actually speak the language that they're looking to do the testing in. I know we've had a lot of volunteers from the Brazilian Portuguese team, and a couple other teams have reached out about being interested, but they haven't had enough necessarily to fill all the testing positions. We're looking for about 3 or 4 people from a specific language to kind of fill out a team and kind of go through all the tasks. Once we kind of figure out if we have enough volunteers, then we'll kind of move towards a kicking off phase. Testing would involve just going through the tooling. I think we're going to go with Crowdin to test, if that's the tool you're familiar with. But the other tool that we might test is Transifact. But I think first might be Crowdin. And it would be going through the translation workflow to try out the tooling, see how how it is to translate within those tools, and then contribute to the community. So we were looking for people to do testing, and then also people to do the reviewing side of it. So if you're interested, please reach out on that issue, or reach out in the SIG Docs localization channel if you have any questions. We're looking for volunteers to come forward by the 22nd, I believe it is, which is next Monday. And then, you know, if we decide to move forward with the testing, if we've kind of filled out the team, then we will do a kickoff phase, probably with some sort of meeting or asynchronous, depending on time zones. And the testing will last about a month, time commitment of an hour to maybe a week or less, depending on how much, what role you're kind of signing up for. So it's not very intensive, but we are asking for people to be available for at least the testing period to provide feedback and to do the testing, and sort of, you know, go through the process and see if these tools are worth adopting within the repo. So that's sort of my spiel on this issue. Again, reach out if you have questions, or if you have any questions right now, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Cool. Thanks, Abby. Any comments or questions for Abby? All right. So that's the last of the PRs and issues. Next section of our agenda is just discussion points and topics. Mine's kind of a repeat from Drew. That K website is frozen for the 130 release, which is scheduled for tomorrow. So once the 130 is out and the dev 130 branch has emerged into main, we will or Drew will unfreeze the K website repo. So look out for that. So even if you have a PR that has an LG and that has an LGTM and approved, it won't be actually merged until after the freeze has been lifted. All right, so I open up the floor for any topics or questions. All right, I want to thank everyone for a wonderful meeting. I'm going to turn off the recording here once I find where I can do that.